Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are having a great day. Again, as Tim said, my name is Tristan, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you the Sage Estimating Core Plus SQL platform. Real quick, I promise I won't bore you to death with a long PowerPoint, but we're just going to go over a really brief corporate overview as to who Alliance is, who Sage is. After that, we'll kind of jump right into the product, where I'll show you estimating, and I'll show you, the eTakeoff integration, and then how all that ties into BIM with using a 3D program called Navisworks. As Tim said earlier, we'll have some time after the demo for questions and answers, or if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. At the end of the demo, I'll leave a slide open that'll have my direct contact information. So if you all don't have any questions, but maybe you might think of one later, feel free to just reach out to me direct. I'll give you my my phone number and email address, and you can just shoot me an email or drop a phone call. And after that, we'll kind of discuss next steps. So. Really quick, couple things about Alliance. We are a local consulting group focused on the construction and real estate industry. And I think one of the biggest things that uniquely positions Alliance, aside from us being local, is the fact that all of the people that you work with at our firm have either real construction and real estate experience, or they've spent their career working in that space. As Tim mentioned before, I actually am I do come from the construction industry. My father was a general contractor here in Houston for many years, and I worked as a Division 4 subcontractor for several years as well, and then got into the construction technology space. So that's kind of one of the things that I think uniquely positions Alliance. Our firm covers Florida, Texas, and Southern California. And although today we're going to be going over estimating and takeoff, I think it's important to know that we carry an entire suite of applications to support all of our construction clients, ranging from takeoff and estimating to accounting and project management and HR solutions and timekeeping. We also offer a number of cloud-based solutions as well. And I think another thing that truly proves our focus on the construction and real estate space is just the overall sheer volume of clients that we've supported and implemented. And that number right now is around 6,700 clients. We typically grow that at around 200 new clients every year. A couple things about Sage. Sage actually has more than 50,000 construction and real estate businesses, not actual users, but businesses that trust their innovative products to help manage more than 500,000 projects. So what that says is that the odds are very high that someone you're working for, like an owner, developer, GC, or maybe someone that's working for you, like a subcontractor, is using one of Sage's products to manage their business to help make it more profitable. We offer a number of different training options and implementation ranging from remote web sessions to our more popular option, which is one-on-one on-site training. If you're ever running into any trouble, you always have the 800 support line that's ready to take your call with an average hold time of about 90 seconds. So this is kind of a something that a sort of visual image here is to kind of show you what we're going to go over today. We're going to start off with estimating. I'll show you what takeoff looks like within estimating, how to set up your estimate, so on and so forth, and then manipulate that data. After that, we're going to go into the eTakeoff demonstration, where I'll show you how that integration looks like and how that ties in to estimating through what's called the bridge. And then we'll show you the integration from 3D, from Navisworks through the bridge into estimating. And for those of you who are using Assemble and RockTech, know that there's a very similar integration with those systems as well. And I'll kind of touch on that throughout the demo. So that being said, like I said, I didn't want to bore you to death with the PowerPoint. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. What we're looking at right now, this is the Sage Estimating SQL platform. And what I like to do during my demonstrations is I like to kind of give you a lay of the land. I'll go through all the tabs, and then we'll kind of touch on what some of the buttons do, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper into that. So what I did right now is I actually created an estimate, and all I did was I called it Estimating Demo. But the window that pops up when you go to create your new estimate, this is this window here, and here's where we enter in all of our information pertaining to the project. You can enter in, who's working on the job or the overall size of the job. Or we'll just say it's 20,000 square feet. You can enter in the job classifications, the address, if you wanted to keep track of where exactly it's located on your estimates. You can enter in your bid results. So let's say if we're working on a competitive bid, and you want to keep track of who else was bidding on this exact same job and what amount, who actually won the job, for tracking purposes later on in the future. But here's where you would enter in all the information pertaining to the estimate that you're working on right now. So here from the Home tab is, you'll notice here that I've already kind of dropped in a couple of items into my estimate here, just so you can kind of visually see what that looks like. And in the Home tab is where you would actually manipulate the various layouts of your estimate. So if I wanted to take a look at it by, a phase level, an item level, or maybe by the takeoff order, or maybe by the assembly, you can actually go in and create a number of different sort sequences and layouts. That way you can, sort of manipulate the visualization of your overall estimate. We can go in here and we can take out, we can take out some of these columns, or we can add some, and all I'm doing is I'm right-clicking here. But you could import or you can insert a number of different columns directly from your WBS code list. And know that you can actually enter in an additional 40 work breakdown structure codes into your overall layouts. So from the Home tab is where we just kind of manipulate the way the overall layout is of our estimate that we're working on right now. Move on over into our Takeoff tab. So here in our Takeoff tab, if we're not working from let's say if we're not using our 2D takeoff solution, or maybe we just want to drop a couple of items that didn't come over from digital takeoff or from doing manual takeoff, we can go in here and we can extract items directly from our database by just doing what's called quick takeoff. And I'm not going to be picky here. I'm just going to go in and select a couple of items, and we're just going to type in, a few numbers here and drop in a couple of items. You'll notice they'll populate in the background here. But you can do either quick takeoff, or you can do item takeoff, or what the most popular form of doing takeoff is what's called assembly takeoff. And I'll show you what that looks like as we kind of go along. But here is where you drop in your items directly from your database. And I'll touch a little bit more on the database once we get to this data tab. Going to our reports. So once we have our estimate, all of our items are here. We kind of have all of our totals. We're ready to, I need to be able to generate a list, or maybe, like a bill of materials, or something that I can give out to my foreman out in the field because he's expecting, certain material items to show up, or just an overall report. You can select from a number of different pre-built reports that come within estimating. So here we have our bill of materials, we have a quote sheet, field reports, crew reports, or you can kind of dig a little bit deeper and create more of a detailed report. So if I wanted to take a look at all of my labor, my material, my subcontract amounts, and my unit cost for each one of those areas, we can even sort this out a number of different ways. That way, the same way that we can sort out and recreate our layouts in our estimating and our overall estimate in the background, we can do it in our report as well. So if I wanted to take a look at it by group phase or by assembly, so on and so forth, it's very easy to kind of go in and just manipulate that. So this is where you would actually generate your multitude of reports directly from the program. And here you'll notice we'll have our overall totals. And there's almost it's almost limitless as to the number of different types of reports that you can generate from here. And you can also even customize your own using Crystal reports. So that's our reports tab. Last tab that I'll touch on, we won't go into advanced too much. There's really on here is where you would enter in if you're generating estimates based on your base bid or alternate one, and then you wanted to apply a status. Here's where you can actually upload those directly from Excel. I like to actually do mine on the fly, and I'll show you what I mean by that here as we kind of go along. But going back to the data tab, so the data tab is where you would actually come in and build out your database. And when I'm talking about a database, I have one already here that's been pre-built that goes across 16 divisions. Now you can use a number of different databases within the estimating SQL platform. So right now I'm just using, like I said, a 16 division general contractors database, but we also work with third-party databases like RS Means. So if you all are working on, let's say, government projects, and you wanted to use an RS Means database that has, pricing broken down by over 700 cities spread across the United States and Canada, you can use that. Or we have other third-party databases that go across 50 divisions instead of 16. But here is where this is the main driver of the program. If we go down here and we go back into, let's say, our concrete, you'll notice that, this is where you would enter in all of your information pertaining to the items in your database. So we could assign it a phase, an item, an overall description, manipulate the takeoff unit of measure. We can either select from our drop-down list, or we can enter in our own. But here is where you would manipulate the pricing, the overall pricing. So let's say, for example, for column forms, instead of $20 an hour for labor price, maybe it's 21. You can literally just go in here and just manually type it, and it would automatically save it to your database. So the next time I drop a column form into my estimate, it's going to be updated on the price with the latest pricing that I entered in here. But here through the data tab is where you would create your various crews. For those of you who are self-performing your own work, or if you're needing crew pricing, you can enter in all your different resources, or for your overall labor, equipment, or both, and then create your various crews. For those of you up north who work with union and non-union type contract work, you would have a crew for labor union, and then another one for not. So again, here's where you would enter in all of the information, and keep in mind that any changes that you make here from your data tab get saved directly to your database. So changes that are made here are going to be permanent. Pretty important to know. So just wanted to go over real quick, lay of the land as to what what everything is and what it does. Let's go in and do some takeoff. Now here again, like I said, I've already kind of dropped in some items directly into my estimate. But like I said earlier, the most popular form of doing takeoff within estimating is what's called assembly takeoff. Now, an assembly is just a grouping of items. So if we can actually go in and manipulate existing assemblies, we can create them from scratch. You can generate what's called smart assemblies. And what do I mean by smart assemblies? Going back into concrete, I'm going to pull up, here's a list of all the assemblies that come with this general contractor's database. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go into a slab on grade, and we're going to take off a slab. And what you'll notice is this is the assembly. These are all the items associated with that assembly. And what the system is doing, and kind of keep in mind, this is the power behind a database-driven solution. The system is literally asking me all of these questions pertaining to this slab. So it's saying, what's the overall area in square foot? I have 100 in here, but let's say it's 250. You can go in and answer a lot of the different questions that are in here. So instead of 4,000 PSI, let's say it's 3,500 PSI. But what you'll notice here is when I get down to my edge forms, do you want to include edge forms? Look what happens when I say no. The questions that follow actually change. So very intelligent system as far as being able to know exactly, what is in an actual slab on grade. And this is just one assembly out of probably 250 that I have in here. And you can, again, go in and you can change it however you like. I'll go back and say yes. Actually, let's go ahead and keep it at no. But let's say, and notice that, again, depending on what answers I give this assembly, will determine what items are extracted from my database. So I'm not gonna go through all of these questions here. You kind of get the idea as to what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and hit pass. And what you'll notice at the moment I did that, based on the answers that I gave it, it went and extracted all of these items directly from my database. Gave me my overall square footage and my cost, $867 for that slab, and my cost per square foot. Drop that into my estimate. So you'll see if I take a look at it by assembly, again, going back into being able to look at your various different sort sequences and layouts, if I go in and review it in my assembly, there's that slab. Pretty cool. Now, going back into, how we kind of touched on this, right now we're taking a look at it by assembly, but, what if we wanted to take a look at, what items are going to be part of our base bid or what's going to be part of our alternates? I need to be able to sort this out so I know what exactly is going to be included and what's going to be like an add-on. And there's a number of different ways you can do this, but what I like to do, and I'll show you real quick, we're going to create a different sort sequence. Instead of having this sort sequence here by assembly and phase, I need to take a look at it by alternate. So what I'll do is I'll actually go into, there it is, assembly and phase. We're going to create a different sort sequence. That way we can kind of take a look at, and we're going to just say that I want to look at it now strictly by alternate. And what it's going to do, it's going to go out and resort my estimate. So now when I click on it, you'll notice that all of these items here weren't assigned because we didn't tell the program that any of these items were part of our base bid or alternates. But now we are. And how do we do that? You simply click on your defaults, and you're going to tell the system that the next time that I do this takeoff, I'm going to the assembly that I'm taking off is now going to be part of my base bid. So let's go back and do that same assembly. Double click, and I'm not going to go through all these questions. You kind of get the idea, but look what's changed here. Now when we have our alternates tab, it automatically is saying that all of the items that are going to be extracted from this database are going to be part of my base bid item. Cost it out, send it over. Let's do that one more time, but now instead of having this be part of our base bid, it's not going to be part of our alternate. Do the takeoff again, cost it out, send it over. Now when I click on my, when I go in to click on my alternate sort sequence, it has it broken out by alternate 1 and my base bid items. A number of different ways that you can manipulate the overall visualization of your estimate. And another thing in here too is, remember we had all these other items that were completely unassigned. You can actually literally go in here and move those and include those as part of your either your base bid items or your alternate. Pretty cool. Very powerful. So now that we have all of our items directly into our estimate, we know that we can kind of go in and we can resort it. We need to be able to take a look at it from an overall totals perspective. I know here that I have my overall grand total of $3,007, and we're at X amount per square foot, so on and so forth. but I need to know where we are overall, just say for labor or material or subcontract amount. We have our totals page here at the bottom that that will allow you to go in and you can insert your various different add-ons. So let's say if we we had insurance insurance amounts that needed to be dropped into our overall totals, or maybe a surety bond. We can actually go in and we can create either add-ons right here on the fly for markups. Oops, not that one. Or we can just select ones directly from our database. And you'll notice that as I'm clicking on these, they're dropping directly in it, and it's applying this to my overall total. Go ahead and stretch this out here a little bit. So very powerful as far as being able to go in and just create and manipulate the overall data in your database. And again, you can save all of these add-ons, or you can just kind of create them directly right here on the fly. Now it's asking if I want to save everything directly to my totals. Yes, I do. One more thing that I'll touch on, and then we're going to go ahead and jump right into the eTakeoff demonstration. I'll show you what that looks like. Is let's say for example we have we have our estimate right now, and it's saying that everything included with our overall totals and alternates is $3,500. We're $3,600 where we are, $3,596. So we have our contractor that says, you know what, that looks really good. I really need you to kind of get down to 3,000. Is there any way you can do that? And so just to show just how you can easily go in and manipulate that, all you have to do is you can go into your overall total, and it'll calculate that overall variance. Oops, 3,000. There you go, much better. So the system will actually go in, and if you go in and you just re-enter in a new total of where you actually need to be, the system will go in and back calculate that overall variance. And so you have a difference of $596 that you have to make up somewhere. Do you want to spread that across your entire estimate? Yes, I do. So the system will actually go in and spread that $596 in your overall totals, either for labor or material. If you wanted to assign it maybe specifically to a trade, so let's say if we wanted to only do it for site work or concrete or interiors or what have you, you can actually spread that variance into specific areas. And what you'll notice is that all these you'll notice you get all these red triangles in your overall total amounts, where if you hover over it, it'll show you what the original amount was and what it was adjusted for. So now we know where we need to make up that money from. So that $596 needs to be made up from site work and concrete and thermal and moisture protection. And again, you can actually go in and you can specifically assign it to specific areas in your estimate. So we went over the overall layout of estimating, kind of showed you what everything is. Went over all the various tabs, all the buttons, showed you the totals and reporting. Now I want to kind of dig into the eTakeoff program. So what I'm going to do before we go into that is let me go ahead and clear out this estimate. So we're going to go ahead and start fresh. Close that out. And open up eTakeoff. So this is the eTakeoff program for 2D takeoff. A couple things that I want to point out right off the bat. eTakeoff actually reads your drawings in its native PDF format. And what that means is you don't have to go in and reconvert it. So if you have in my experience, we had 150 pages of architecturals and structurals that we had to load into either our system directly from PDF to a program like Bluebeam, where it would go in and just completely reformat the program. And what that means is, one, it could actually take a long time, and two, is it actually distorts the image itself. Well, you don't actually have that problem with eTakeoff. You get these really clean, crisp lines, and the time it takes to load those drawings is literally seconds, no longer minutes or even more than that. If we're loading hundreds or even thousands of drawings into the program. Another thing is eTakeoff is full multi-user, so meaning we can actually have multiple people working on the exact same set of drawings at the exact same time. Full multi-user, and the system is even smart enough to apply a filter to it, so that if we only wanted to see, if we wanted to see takeoff that was created only by certain estimators, you can actually go in and apply a filter to it, and we can even break it down by alternates or base bid items, so on and so forth. This is also a full database-driven solution, very similar to what estimating looks like. You'll notice that the database that I had in estimating, where I kind of pointed out before, is right here in my eTakeoff program as well. So if I'm going in and I'm actually doing takeoff, and I've applied, things to like an alternate or a base bid item, or if I had my various work breakdown structures also transferred over into eTakeoff, I'm not having to do a bunch of double entry. So if I send over an overall square footage into my estimate, I don't have to go in and, go through that whole assembly process again. It's already been done directly from your digital takeoff program. You'll notice that we have, a number of different control panels, and you can actually manipulate, what it is that you want to see in your various control panels. So if I want to take a look at a measurement edit or a layer list like we have already on the side, you can actually take these control panels, you can move them to other screens. For those of you who are using multiple monitors, I highly recommend that you take the control panels and move them to other screens so you can kind of free up some of that space. But for now, we'll kind of keep it here for the sake of the demo. So, in the eTakeoff program, you have a lot of similar takeoff like you would with other digital takeoff solutions. We have our overall area, our count, our length, perimeter. So if I wanted to go in here and just say I wanted to see and I'm sorry my lines aren't the straightest in the world. We can go in here, we can see where we are, as far as the length, the perimeter, the area, so on and so forth. If I and hit save here. Let's say if we had if this is going to be a common takeoff, we can actually go and drag and drop it directly into our favorites list. Or if we wanted to, let's say if we're dealing with this, multiple rooms that are exactly the same, we can go in and just continuously do the same thing over and over again, where we save these directly to our favorites list. Almost limitless. Now, of course, I know this doesn't make sense right here, but you kind of get the idea. So very powerful as far as being able to quickly get your, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. And also another thing here too is that you also have the ability to set multiple scales on the exact same set of drawings. So if I wanted to go in here and let's say that I wanted to, if I wanted to set a scale to my or select from a standard list that we have already here, or if I wanted to just calibrate one of my own, we can actually go in here and here, let's go. Oops. Sorry about that. User error. Not sure why that's not working for me, but you kind of get the idea. You can actually set multiple scales on the exact same set of drawings at the exact same time. And I'm not sure what went on there, but anyways, moving on. So again, going into takeoff, kind of one of the big things that we really care most about is the overall integration. What does it mean whenever I do my digital takeoff and I now have to put this into an estimate? Is this going to be one of those import export things where I kind of have to export my overall quantities and measurement summaries and then drop those and then manually input those in estimating? And the answer to that is no. Using the eTakeoff bridge, you can now send that over directly into my estimate. We can drop those into my estimating program without having to do any of that import export type functionality. And how do we do that? It's very simple, actually. You go in and you simply just drag and drop. This is my takeoff. This is my assembly. Here are all the other WBS codes that were assigned to that particular assembly. The same ones that we had within estimating are now in our bridge. You'll notice another thing too is we have the exact same database. This database pops up everywhere we go. And how do we send that over? Cost it out, send it over. So now we sent over this one slab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this hide assign button. And what hide assign means is as estimators and project managers and people who are doing takeoff, and you're constantly speaking to different vendors, being pulled in different directions, you're constantly distracted. And if you kind of get pulled away from doing your takeoff, you kind of you want to know where, when you finally get back to your desk and you're looking back at your drawings, you want to know, where did we leave off? And here, if you just hit the hide assign button, it'll show you all the takeoff that's already been sent over. Now, the thing about the eTakeoff and its integration with estimating is once I send over a slab, does that mean I'm going to have to actually go in and drag and drop every single one of these assemblies, or go to each one of my drawings and then do nothing but drag and drop? And the answer to that is no. If you go into full automatic mode, the system will actually auto-recognize all of the other slabs. It went in and said, look, you sent over that one slab. We found 11 others that look exactly like it. Do you want us to go ahead and send that over? Yes, I do. And what you'll notice is one by one, they all start disappearing. Now let's take a look and see what that looks like in our estimate. Now remember, we cleared this estimate out before I went over. But you'll take a look. If I want to take a look at this by assembly, remember the slab on grade assemblies that we were using earlier? They're all right here. It's been completely costed out as far as my quantity and my labor cost per unit, labor price. All this is being extracted directly from my database. If I want to go in and maybe take a look at the overall assembly itself, you just simply right-click, review assembly. There we are. Another thing that I'll kind of point out too is that you'll notice on these items here, what suddenly happened is that we now have these little blue triangle that's kind of popped up right here on the top left-hand corner of our takeoff quantity. And what that's telling me is that this takeoff didn't actually come from inside of estimating. It came from an outside source. So if I wanted to actually find out where exactly this came from, all I do is I right-click and I drill down on my eTakeoff and my bridge. And what it'll do is it'll take me directly to that assembly and even highlight that slab right here on my drawing. There's that takeoff, there's that assembly. So seamless integration from front to back, back to front. Pretty cool. So I wanted to really kind of touch on the overall eTakeoff integration. Now, let's talk about BIM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this current bridge here, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to close my estimate as well. Actually, it's already closed. What was it? Actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and start fresh one more time. That way I kind of show you what that overall integration looks like with a program called Navisworks. So Navisworks is a 3D BIM program. So what that means is, you know, when we get our Revit files, for those of you who are doing 3D takeoff or receiving Revit files, you kind of get them in a format that's not really too valuable to an estimator. You know, it comes with about 360 different attributes, and it goes over, you know, every little intricate detail of a drawing. You know, we don't really need all of that. We need to be able just to extract certain information. For example, on a wall, we need to be able just to extract the overall length, the width, the thickness, so on and so forth. And you can actually reset those parameters however you'd like. And, you know, we can kind of go in and move around. We have our control panel where, you know, we can have different visibility throughout that overall model. But the main thing that I really want to talk about is its overall integration with estimating. So now what happened, and this goes back into that slide that I showed earlier with showing the overall integration. What happened with Sage is, you know, instead of them, you know, going in and reinventing the wheel, meaning instead of them saying, you know, why don't we go in and just create our own version of Navisworks or our own version of Assemble or our own version of RockTech for cut and fill, why don't we just go ahead and create just an integration with what everyone else is already using right now instead of having them switch over? And so that's really what they've done here with the Navisworks program. You know, they kind of went in and, you know, we have our own eTakeoff tab here, where we can now seamlessly integrate this the same way we did with 2D takeoff, we can now do with 3D. And how do we do that? We just simply start our bridge. There's that database again. The same database that we've been working with is also here in the same bridge with the Navisworks program. And how do we get all of our, right now we're going to be talking about the basic walls. You simply drag and drop. Call that interior studs. There's our takeoff. Here's our assembly. Cost it out, send it over. Now, the same rule still applies here. I mean, the bridge is, this is a very smart program. I mean, what I mean by that is, again, when we go back to our automatic mode, I sent over that one wall and it went and found all of these other walls that were exactly the same. Do you want to send those over? Yes, I do. The system will literally just auto-recognize, and all you have to do is map these out a single time, and you'll never have to touch it again. It'll auto-recognize everything every single time that you now upload those drawings or you use that exact same assembly. It's gonna notify you and actually show you that overall takeoff and that link between the two. Now let's go back into our estimate and show you what that looks like. There goes all of our assemblies. I'm looking at it by an assembly through my assembly sort sequence. There's all of my walls. Double click, gives me all of the material items that were associated with that wall. Review my assembly if I wanted to, or not. And again, the same rule still applies here as well. You'll notice that blue triangle that was right here. if I wanted to go back and drill back down through my bridge and take a look at what that looks like through Navisworks, it will bring up that exact same wall and assembly and show it to me in my Navisworks program. So seamless integration between, from 2D to estimating, from 3D to estimating, and being able to extract all of that data and drop it directly into your estimate. So that's really what I wanted to show you as far as estimating and takeoff goes. Tim, I want to go ahead and open it up for any questions if anyone's asked any so far.
All right, great. Yeah, we do have one question so far. So once again, everybody, if you do have questions, there is a questions box where you can ask questions. And I'm monitoring the attendee list. And if you do have a verbal question you want to ask, you can click the button to raise your hand. And as long as if you're either on your computer or online, if you enter your phone number PIN, we'll be able to hear you. It'll connect us together. So first question, does the takeoff program automatically update industry pricing? Cost of material goes up, manual input, or automatic update?
So that's a great question. So that really would depend on the database that you go with. As I mentioned before, we work right now, the database that I have right now is just it's Sage's general contracting database. And that database does not get updated annually. But if you went with something like an RS Means database, that does get updated every single year with new pricing, updated pricing. We also work with another third-party database developer called Fredly. He has a Fredly's general contractors database, where if you pay for the annual maintenance for it, then you would get all of the pricing updates on that. So again, that just really depends on which database you decide to go with. RS Means, yes. Fredly's, yes. Other third parties, no.
All right.
I hope that answers
that. Katie, if that did not, go ahead and ask again a different way then, please.
We'll leave it open for any other questions. If anyone has anything else they want to ask.
And one thing to add that for anybody that is an existing user of Sage Estimating, the most current versions of estimating as compared to if you're using an older one, the new estimating as far as licensing, there's no physical license key anymore. So it's all the licensing is all handled online. Activation codes and things like that are now a thing of the past with estimating moving forward. Is MCA one of your third-party databases?
I am actually not familiar with MCA, so I'm going to say no, they're not. Unless they've actually built one on their own, I'm not familiar with their database. Our most famous databases that we work with are from Database Solutions or Fredly's or John Fredly's databases or Michael Linebaugh's. And RS Means are more popular ones. But as far as MCA, I'm not familiar with them at all. So again, I probably would say no.
All right. Let's see. So this is back to Katie regarding she had the first question. Does the takeoff automatically feed into the accounting side of Sage?
It does. It actually does. There is a seamless integration between estimating from here, not from digital takeoff, but if we're talking about the takeoff that's done in our estimating platform, one of the cool things is that in our advanced tab, and I don't actually have Timberline or Master Builder or 100 loaded to this machine, but if I did, we would actually have a job cost icon that would populate right here. And you would simply, once we have our estimate already done, we would just click that button. It would create our budget, and then we can begin job costing directly into the accounting program. So there actually is a seamless integration between either 300 or 100 on the Sage side. So yes, absolutely.
All right. And Katie has her hand up. So Katie, I'm going to try to unmute you. Looks like you're connected via your computer and speakers. So, right. Hi, Katie.
Hey, Katie.
Okay, I'm going to, yeah. Oh, she muted herself. All right, I'm going to put her hand down.
That's okay, no problem.
Okay, she said, okay, I'm good. All right. Will the program develop its own schedule, Primavera or MS projects?
So that's actually something, you know, in the pervasive version, we had the full integration with Primavera, and when the SQL portion was developed, we didn't really quite have that yet, and that's something that we're working on right now as far as integrating the P6. As far as MS Projects, I mean, I believe MS Project will allow you to import from Excel. You can actually export all of this into Excel and drop that into Project if, depending on what format it has to be in. So it's not really a seamless integration between the two yet, but we're getting there. And I estimate that we actually probably might get there before the end of this year to be able to integrate into P6. I hope that answers that question.
All right, and we are caught up on questions.
I think so. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll leave this slide open here, up here for a bit. And if you guys have any questions or if anything else comes up, just feel free to give me a call. Or here, let me change my display settings here. Here's my my phone number and my email address. And if any other questions come up, please don't hesitate to call or email me at any time. I'd be more than happy to help.
All right. Well, thank you for the information, Tristan. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to join us. We'll let everybody get back to estimating and building. Okay, ending the webinar now. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.